Open eye, feel the waves cut through me. Hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, hold tight. Chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me move. You.
And we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 8, I believe, of the 2-on-0 Hockey Show. Andrew Marisi, I'm Carter Bentavenga, your two co-hosts with nothing standing in the way of covering the greatest game in the world, being hockey. We're live currently on the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube, Facebook, Zodiac TV. So welcome to everybody who is viewing our stream right now. Andrew, my friend, how are you doing on this fine Friday evening?
Doing well. We were playing hockey before, too bad, it rained, so, we really couldn't do too much. But, other than that, I've been doing pretty good.
Of course, it also happens to stop raining as soon as we pack up, too.
Of course, yeah. What are the odds?
Oh, well, what are you going to do? So, it's time to get into the Eastern Division standings really quickly before we go ahead and do anything else. Obviously, we're a Northeastern streaming hockey show, so of course the Eastern Division is our specialty. So currently we have the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins tied for first place in the East Division with 69 points. New York Islanders in third with 65, Boston Bruins in fourth with 64, the Rangers pulling up in fifth with 58, and then the Flyers with 51, Devils and Sabres closing out the end of the division. So, Andrew, it's definitely getting exciting seeing how the Eastern Division is kind of coming together as the playoffs draw near.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, probably one of the most exciting times of the year, I know for me and you. Washington and Pittsburgh, they already clinched their spot. So, they're basically in, I think we mentioned it a couple weeks ago or a couple episodes ago that, we kind of basically thought they were going to be in, and now they're officially in. Islanders sitting in that third spot, and then Boston in fourth place, right behind them with 1 point. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And then with the Rangers, devastating loss last night, especially with they needed the win and stuff. So it's gonna be fun to see.
So I think the big thing as of right now in the East Division, we didn't really have anybody who was on the verge of clinching a playoff berth up until last night, and we'll get into this later in the show, but we now have two teams in the East Division that have clinched a spot in the Stanley Cup playoffs with a potential for 3 tomorrow night. Andrew, which of these, we have the Capitals, Penguins, and Islanders in the East Division right now. That's rounding out your top 3. Obviously, I mentioned before, the Penguins and the Caps are tied in first with 69 points. Is there a team out of those two that you think looks more dangerous? Like, if you're going in as maybe a wild card team, or in this case, the third or the fourth seed, who would you rather play? Would you rather go up against the Pittsburgh Penguins or the Washington Capitals?
I think it really depends on what team is playing who. But if we're just talking about, overall wise, I would probably be scared to play against Washington. Washington's been doing pretty decent, 7-2-1 in their past 10, and they haven't had Ovi for the past couple of games, and they're still winning. And, they're winning by a lot. So, I personally wouldn't want to play the Capitals.
I agree with that 100%. I know last night Ovechkin wasn't in the lineup, John Carlson wasn't in the lineup. They still managed to get a point out of that game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, which again we'll get into later in the show. But that's impressive, though. I mean, to have two of your top, probably your top forward and your captain in Alex Ovechkin and a Norris caliber defenseman and John Carlson out of the lineup, you still managed to get a point against a very, very good Pittsburgh Penguins club. So is that a bit of a confidence booster for the Washington Capitals, or do you think they don't really need much of a boost at this point, given where they are in the standings?
Yeah, I mean, a little extra boost, doesn't hurt. But I mean, yeah, I don't think they really have anything to worry about. They're in already. So, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to see, if they, sit out a couple players, over the next couple of games, just to rest them, make them, ready for playoffs and whatnot. But I think they'll be fine.
I would agree with that. I think Pittsburgh and Washington both looked equally dangerous in their game last night. And if you want to hear us talk more about that, be sure you stick around because that's coming very, very shortly. So, but we do have some other games to get to first, and probably the one that Andrew dreads the most. So, Andy, my friend, did you watch any of the game last night?
I'm gonna be honest, I could not. I had my own hockey game, and then me and my friend we went out to dinner afterwards, so I wasn't really able to catch a whole lot of the game. Thank God I didn't, though.
I happened to catch a little bit of it. Considering I was sitting in the upper tier of Madison Square Garden, but I happened to catch a few minutes of the game.
Just a little bit of the game, yeah, nothing too big, but
I was on Twitter most of the time, So, but anyway, we have a pretty big win for the Islanders here. And do you want me to show any of the game highlights, Andrew?
If you want to, go ahead, be my guest.
Well, I want to. The question is whether or not you want me to.
Go ahead. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just show it.
So. We're just going to pull this up really quickly. Islanders defeat the Rangers by a final of 4-0 last night. I have so many tabs open and I can't even find it, to be completely honest with you. There it is. Go ahead and pull that up really quickly. Turn the audio off so the audience at home isn't drowned by the audio on this clip. And Andrew, right off the bat, I mean, did you think the Rangers had a good start to this game, or did you think that it was more the Islanders who had the advantage right off the hop?
I mean, again, I couldn't really watch the whole game, but I mean, from what I've heard from other people, just the Rangers' offense and defense wasn't it. Igor Shesterkin was standing on his head for most of the game, but the offense and the defense just really didn't help at all.
That's one big save there on Jordan Eberle, and this is a massive, massive save early in the game. Eberle with a glorious chance in the backhand, and Shesterkin just stones him with his pad. So I'm not going to do what I did the last game, though. I'm not going to show every single goal, but I really want to get to the first goal of the game, which I believe is coming up soon. This is another nice save by Shesterkin on the one-timer by Anthony Beauvillier.
I mean, Igor has been kind of doing that all year, so it doesn't really surprise me. He's been one of my favorite goalies. I mean, obviously, of course, I'm a Ranger fan, but I'm going to say that. But I just really like the way Shesterkin plays. His athletic ability is insane, as we see right here, making splits. So he's been really good.
I would agree. And this is the first goal of the game. You see a nice play by Leddy, an east-west pass by Jordan Eberle, and Leo Komarov finds the back of the net to make it 1-0 Islanders.
Yeah, I believe that was his first goal of the year. I'm not 100% sure with that, but I mean, nice little funny celebration right there. Maybe he was getting the monkey off the back. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, overall, it's a nice shot. Something that we really don't see a lot from Leo Komarov. He's not really known for his goal scoring abilities, and just putting one top shelf high blocker, very nice shot.
That was a nice shot indeed, and I'm going to be completely honest. I was very surprised when he scored. The first thing I did was I texted my friend and went, "Oh my God, he actually did something." But anyway, this is the other highlight that I want to get to. This is, I believe, Oliver Wahlstrom's power play goal. As you see there, nice drop pass by Nelson. Wahlstrom goes upstairs. That's just a nice shot there on the blocker side. Another goal on the blocker side of Igor Shesterkin. Andrew, I mean, given you're a Ranger fan, you would know this more than I would. Does Igor have a fairly weak blocker? Have you noticed that a lot of goals are going in on his blocker side more than his glove?
I'm not gonna say it's a weak blocker side, but I would say most of the goals that, he does give up, would be, on the blocker side. Again, I'm not going to call it a weak blocker side, not just to shoot there. He has a tremendous glove, as we all know. We saw it, before with that save you mentioned before. But, I mean, the blocker isn't his best side.
Understandable. And I mean, I don't think I don't remember who scored the third Islander goal, to be honest with you, but I don't think it was anything to, kind of marvel at. There were a lot of posts in this game for the Islanders. There were a lot of good chances overall. I thought this could have been, I'm going to move the camera out a little bit here. I feel like that looks better. I feel like this honestly could have been a lot, no offense to the Rangers, of course, but I feel like this was just a solid game from the Islanders, and I feel like this could have been a lot worse on the scoreboard than it actually was. I feel like, the Islanders had a lot of offensive chances that to be honest, they got robbed on by Igor Shesterkin. Again, they hit a couple posts here and there. I mean, what did you see out of it? Obviously, we're on two different sides of the spectrum here.
Yeah, I mean, Islanders really kind of just came out of the gate and, just never really stopped. Obviously, you got, not really known goal scorer, Lil Komarov coming on the board, so that probably brought a spark to this team, and brought a spark to him, obviously. But, yeah, as I mentioned before, the Rangers' offense and defense just really hasn't shown up. And if I'm going to be honest, Artemi Panarin really hasn't been playing that well recently. I mean, I'm not going to be complaining because he's putting up tremendous numbers for us. But, I mean, in recent games, he hasn't been the best. But, yeah, I mean, for the Rangers, they're pretty much done. Obviously, they're not officially out of the playoffs. But I think for them to basically, even get close, they would have to win out. And then, obviously, teams like the Islanders and the Bruins would have to lose, a couple of games.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Bruins schedule is looking like. I'm sure I could pull it up in a little bit, but I know with the Islanders, after the Ranger game tomorrow night, they have 2 against Buffalo, 2 against New Jersey, and I think 1 against the Bruins, actually, to close out the season. So, to be completely honest, I don't see the Islanders losing much of those games. I think they go, I don't know, I mean, that's what, let's see, 2 against Buffalo, 2 Jersey. That's 6 games there. I think they go either 4-2 or 5-1, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually just checked the Bruins schedule. They're playing the Sabres tomorrow, and they're playing 2 games against the Devils, 2 games against the Rangers, and then 1 against the Islanders, and then 1 against the Capitals to finish the season.
Okay, so I mean, if you're looking at the Bruins and the Islanders, comparing their schedules anyway, I think the Bruins are more likely to lose out than the Islanders are, just based on where these teams are on the schedule. Although, I mean, granted, New Jersey and Buffalo, they haven't been the greatest teams per se, but Buffalo's been okay ever since their long losing streak. And I mean, the Devils snapped their losing streak as well recently. So I'm not going to say it's guaranteed that one of those 2 teams loses out, but I guess anything's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But before last night's game, actually, there's something that we have to get to with Adam Fox of the New York Rangers. Andrew, before we get into that, do you want to give kind of everybody an insight here on what the Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award is, not just what it means to the New York City community, but what it means to the Rangers as a franchise?
Yeah, so basically what the Stephen McDonald Award is a player on the New York Rangers who goes above and beyond, expectations and, just not even expectations, just the way, they're playing, for their community, how well they're doing for their team. Stephen McDonald, he was a police officer who unfortunately got shot and he was paralyzed, I believe it was in the 90s or the 80s in New York City. And ever since then, the Rangers, were kind of just like, all right, hey, you know what? We respect for what you do, being a cop isn't easy. And he got paralyzed from it. So Adam Fox taking this trophy award, it really means so much to him. Growing up as a Ranger fan, growing up in Jericho, New York, he probably went to multiple games, where the Stephen McDonald Award was presented. I know I have been to one. It was just a great ceremony, overall, everything. And just for Adam Fox, him especially to take home this award, with the season he's having and, just really what he's done for this team, it's truly special.
I agree 100%. I'm sure it's kind of surreal for him to take home an award that, again, I mean, I'm sure he's been to games that either the award's been presented, or I'm sure that he's watched games on TV where the award's been presented in itself. Um, with the way that Adam Fox has played this year, do you think he was the number one choice for this award, or would you have picked anybody else to take home the Stephen McDonald Award?
I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Ranger fans actually voted on this. There was a website you can vote on it, and I know I voted for Adam Fox. I think he deserves it. Kind of just what he's done, this season, bringing the Rangers' energy life up. Obviously he's not the main part, but, he was one of the main parts for it. So, I mean, yeah, I think it was well-deserved for Fox.
I would agree. And it was cool to see the, just how he was interacting with the family of Stephen McDonald. Obviously, I didn't grow up as a Ranger fan, but I knew the significance of what the Stephen McDonald Award meant, not just to the New York City Police Department, but just the Rangers as a franchise. And I know that Stephen McDonald was such a diehard Ranger fan that it must mean a lot for Adam Fox to take home an award like this. And I would imagine that he's still kind of in shock that he managed to receive the award. So good for Adam Fox. Good for the Rangers on continuing such an amazing tradition in these hard times. And yeah, I mean, I guess big congratulations are in order to number 23. So, but we're gonna move on here, and we're actually gonna flip to the other side of this rivalry. I want to present two stats before we actually get into this discussion. The first stat: the Islanders have now shut out an opponent 3 times in a single season for the 3rd time in franchise history. 3 times against Tampa in 1997-98, 3 times against Washington in 96-97, and 3 times against the New York Rangers this season. Semyon Varlamov, goaltender for the New York Islanders, he's got 3 shutouts in, I believe, 4 games at the Garden this season against the Rangers, obviously. Just another stat that I want to bring up here before we get into our discussion. This is coming from the PRNHL Instagram. Semyon Varlamov became the first goaltender in the expansion era since the 1967-68 season to record 6 shutouts in an NHL season in which clubs contested a schedule of 56 games or fewer. I mean, Andrew, that's a lot to take in, but while we're getting into this here, and I know this might be me being a little bit biased, with the numbers that Varlamov has put up, he has been one of the best goaltenders in the league, one of the most consistent goaltenders in the league over the course of this past season. And he's still got a few games to build on that. In fact, do you think as of right now he could be a potential finalist for the Vezina Trophy, and why or why not?
Yeah, no, I definitely can see Varlamov being a finalist for the Vezina. Obviously, you mentioned the 3 shutouts against the Rangers, something that, probably hasn't really been done, either ever or in a while. Just looking at his stats right here, in 32 games played, 18 wins, 9 losses, 4 overtime losses, 2.05 goals against average, and a .928 save percentage. And then you mentioned before the 6 shutouts. He's definitely a finalist if I had a ballot. He's just been so detrimental to this New York Islander team that I think if they didn't have him, they would definitely not be, where they are now. Varlamov has just been, that good for them, and, he's impacted that team so much.
I would agree, and I actually just checked the if you guys don't know this, if you look on the NHL app, if you scroll down towards the bottom of the Game Center page, it actually gives you statistics on the season series between any 2 teams in the league, realistically. And the one game that the Islanders lost at Madison Square Garden, it was January 16th. It was a 5-0 Ranger win. I just realized up until about 10 or 15 minutes before the game, Varlamov was supposed to start in that one, but that was actually Ilya Sorokin's NHL debut. So if you really break it down, Semyon Varlamov has not allowed a goal at Madison Square Garden all season. That in itself
very,
is
very
impressive.
Very impressive.
I know you're just like, dude, just shut up. Just get on with the next topic already. But I don't know. I mean, I would like to see Varley. I don't think he's winning the Vezina Trophy. I think if I had a ballot of my own, I think my vote would go to Andre Vasilevsky of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Um, but I like the way that Varlamov has played this year. I don't think a lot of people really understand how big of a part of the Islander team that Varlamov is. He makes big saves night in, night out. He's also a really big factor in the success that Ilya Sorokin has had. Right, a lot of people might be thinking, well, why would that be? They're both, Varlamov is Russian as well. Obviously, Ilya Sorokin has played a few seasons in the KHL, and having somebody who's from your home country as a rookie like Ilya Sorokin is, it can really give you a boost of confidence. It can really, kind of lighten your mood from day to day. It's obviously hard enough to come over to the NHL and make an impact, and having such an amazing mentor and an amazing friend, for that matter, in Semyon Varlamov, it must mean a lot to Ilya Sorokin as a player. So. I would like to see Varlamov get some Vezina consideration. Do I think he's going to? I don't know. I mean, if I had to guess, I think he finishes fourth. If he doesn't get in, I think he finishes probably third, depending on who else is up there. But I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting to see who kind of gets in the finalist ballot for the Vezina Trophy. I'm hoping it's Varley, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, well, now that we finally got through the Islander Ranger game, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia Flyers. And these two teams played last night. The Devils won 5-3 behind 2 goals by Yegor Sharangovich. Andrew, I mean, Sharangovich has looked really, really good for this Devils team this year. He just put up, I believe, last night was his 15th goal of the season after he scored his second one. So definitely a solid season coming out of Sharangovich.
Yeah, no, I mentioned last episode, Sharangovich was, one of my favorite rookies. And, just to correct you, I'm not trying to be like a bad guy or anything. It was his 14th goal. Not his 15th. 15th. But again, Sharangovich has been one of my, at least surprising rookies this year. It wouldn't surprise me if he got some Calder nominations. I'm not going to say he's a Calder finalist, but I mean, I just really like the way he's played. And after last night's game, he now has 14 goals, 12 assists, and 26 points in 48 games. So, I mean, that's pretty good for a rookie. I didn't know who this guy was when they started the season. And then he started to heat up, and then, I kind of started to realize the name. The fact that, I am my team is in the East Division, kind of helped me, learn this guy a little bit. But, he's been doing really good, and just the Flyers. The Flyers have just been doing so bad. I mean, I think ever since, I think it was like 2014, they've been on and off of the playoffs. Literally like 1 year on the playoffs, 1 year off the playoffs. I'm not 100% sure when the date was, but I know it's been 1-1.
Yeah, I want to try and pull that up really quickly because I saw it yesterday on the NHL Trash Talkers Twitter. I think you were right, by the way, when you said that it's literally like year in and year out. This Flyers team is so inconsistent in terms of making the playoffs. I actually found it right here. So in 2012, playoffs. 2013, no playoffs. 2014, playoffs. 2015, no playoffs. 2016, playoffs. 2017, no playoffs. 2018, playoffs. 2019, no playoffs. 2020, playoffs. 2021, no playoffs. Does this trend continue into next year? I think I should put money on the fact that it does.
I mean, I would 100% put money on that they would make the playoffs. I really don't know what's wrong with them. Like, I know obviously their defense and goalies have been doing, very bad. But I mean, from what we've seen from Carter Hart, he doesn't look like a bad goalie. From past seasons, he's shown us that he can be, a top 10 goalie in the league. And I don't know if, just the shortened season or the COVID season had to do anything with it. But I mean, I'm really hoping for Carter Hart to have a bounce back year next year. He's one of my favorite goalies personally.
Well, I know, speaking of Carter Hart, I know the other day that the Flyers actually just shut him down for the rest of the season. He has a sprained MCL in his knee. I don't know what's wrong with him, to be completely honest with you. And I found it interesting that you had mentioned about maybe it's something to do with the COVID shortened season, but I mean, he was doing fairly well in the Stanley Cup playoff bubble. I mean, he looked decent in the bubble at least. So, if anything, I mean, now that fans are back in the building, wouldn't I feel like it would make more sense to see an increase in Carter Hart's performance, let alone a decrease. I mean, statistically speaking, he's been one of, if not the worst goaltender in the NHL. I mean, he's been rivaled by Thomas Greiss of the Detroit Red Wings. But I mean, no offense to Thomas Greiss, I love him as a former Islander, but I kind of expected a bit of a regression out of Thomas Greiss only because Detroit's defense is nowhere as good and as structured as the Islanders are. But I mean, this is the same Flyers team that essentially the same Flyers team anyway that Carter Hart played behind last year. Maybe they lost one guy in Matt Niskanen, but I don't think one guy would lead to essentially an implosion of the Flyers as a roster. I mean, do you agree with that? Do you have any intake on that?
Yeah, I mean, they were one game away from going to the Eastern Conference Final last year. So, I mean, again, it's kind of weird, seeing them, just be really, really bad this year. As I mentioned before, their defense, isn't the greatest. I mean, I'd say they're probably number one defenseman right now is Ivan Provorov. And, he's had an okay season, 7 goals, 18 assists for 25 points. But, I mean, if you want to make the playoffs, you're going to have a number one defenseman that's putting up at least, 30 to 40 points a season. But, yeah, I mean, I really don't know what's wrong with the Flyers.
I'm a fan of Provorov's game, but I mean, I agree with you. I think you do need a defenseman who's going to kind of drive the bus offensively, especially on the power play. And no offense to Ivan Provorov, but I don't see him as that guy. I think a lot of people expected him to be a little more, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, dynamic maybe might be the word. I don't see Ivan Provorov as a defenseman who's gonna drive the attack offensively. He's not a Cale Makar, he's not a Quinn Hughes, he's not an Adam Fox. He's not an elite offensive defenseman. I mean, is that what the Flyers are lacking? Do you think that's the issue here? Or do you think that maybe it's more?
I think it's definitely one of the reasons why they're doing so bad. Personally, I would say Provorov is a top 4 defenseman. I would not put him in a top 2 category at all. The names you mentioned before, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Adam Fox, Victor Hedman, John Carlson, those are all top 2 defensemen. And if you look at those teams, they're doing pretty well. Vancouver, obviously, not doing that well, due to the COVID outbreak. The Rangers, still a young team, but, they're improving each year. And then, Cale Makar with the Avalanche, look how good they're doing. Victor Hedman, look how good they're doing. Obviously, they have more pieces, that help them. But when you have another number one defenseman like that, it really, really, really improves your team.
I would agree. And I know at this point we're just rattling off names, but you could also throw Roman Josi into that elite offensive defenseman discussion. I mean, who do you see as a potential option that maybe the Flyers could go after in terms of looking for that elite offensive defenseman? Or do you think that maybe they even go for a defensive defenseman to play with Provorov? Because he's not a bad point producer. It's not like he doesn't put up points at all. But at the same time, we were mentioning before, he's not quite on the same scale as a Cale Makar or a Quinn Hughes or even Adam Fox.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they're lacking right-hand defensemen. And one of the right-handed defensemen coming up in this free agency is Dougie Hamilton. Dougie Hamilton is one of my favorite defensemen. He's a very, very good offensive defenseman. I believe last year he broke his leg. I'm not 100% sure. But, I mean, this year he's back better than ever. Let me just look up his stats real quick. Obviously, he's playing for a very good team in Carolina. He's been bounced around, I think, 2 or 3 times in the league. But, I mean, 8 goals, 31 assists for 39 points in 50 games with a plus-minus of 20. That screams elite offensive defenseman to me, and that's kind of what Philly needs.
I would agree with that, and I got news for you. If Dougie Hamilton didn't break his leg last year, I think we're looking at a Dougie Hamilton Norris Trophy. I think
he was on pace for, I think, a lot of points last year. he would have done very, very well. Unfortunately, he did break his leg, and then COVID happened, so not the best year for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he necessarily would have. I don't know if he would have outscored guys like John Carlson or Roman Yossi, but I definitely think he would have been in the conversation. And I think that's exactly what the Flyers need. He's an elite offensive defenseman who he's got a bomb of a shot. He's able to control the play both offensively and defensively. I mean, Dougie Hamilton would be a good fit on the Flyers, but I guess at that point you're really just looking at, well, first of all, is Carolina going to let him go? Because given how good he's been, you don't even know if Carolina would let him get to free agency. And number two, I mean, how much is he going to want? Because I don't know what the Flyers' salary cap situation is looking like, but if you're looking to sign a guy like Dougie Hamilton in free agency, you know, depending on how much he wants, it realistically might not even be worth it for Philadelphia. So
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
Philadelphia
I mean,
right now, sorry to interrupt you, but right now their current cap space is just over 10 million. So do you want to
okay. I
spend it
mean,
all on one guy? Do you want to, go out and get a little bit of veterans, for 2 or 3 million? Who knows?
I think it also depends on what they do in the expansion draft. Do you think? I mean, I don't know. We could see them potentially take a guy like JVR or Jake Voracek. That would free up quite a bit of cap space. So realistically, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility to acquire a defenseman like Dougie Hamilton, but I would put it at unlikely right now. We don't even know if Dougie Hamilton wants to leave Carolina yet. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's still a ways down the road. So we're not gonna get into that just yet. But it's something to keep at the back of our mind. So, but anyway, we're gonna move on here, and we got a game between the Boston Bruins and the Buffalo Sabres. And this was a very solid game overall. This actually wound up being a 2-2 game up until the third period. And then Andrew, Boston just exploded with 3 goals in the third period. What did you see out of the Bruins in this one?
Yeah, I mean, Bruins, just looking dominant as usual. Personally, I think the best line in hockey is, Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak. They all went off, I mean, as usual. I mean, I'm not surprised by it. Bergeron just really 1 assist. Marchand 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist, and then Pastrnak 1 goal. He had a nice goal. I think it was the first goal of the game. It was a nice one-timer. It was a good little play. I don't know if you have the clip or not. If not, it's no big deal. But
I do have it actually. I can try and pull it up here.
and then again, another surprise, not really surprise, but Taylor Hall, another goal. And I think him and Krejci have been clicking. I feel like I've seen a lot more of Krejci, more than usual now that Taylor Hall's on his line. As we see the goal, we're going to see the goal right here. Let's see, it's a little laggy, but I believe Marchand dropped it right back here. Give it to Bergeron, and then Pastrnak for the one-timer. It was just a nice goal overall. Pastrnak, he's just like Ovi. He really likes that left side, and, he just let it rip.
That's a nice low shot too that I don't think any goalie in the league is stopping. And on a goaltender like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's making he's still very early on in his NHL career. So it's definitely scary to see a guy like David Pastrnak coming down in the off wing there. And then I actually want to try and get another clip up here. This was an assist made by David Krejci yesterday, and this was a very, very impressive assist. I saw it on Twitter, and I couldn't really believe it at first. So this is a goal from Taylor Hall to make it 4-2 Boston. So I'm going to turn the audio off here. Watch this toe drag around one of the Buffalo defenders.
Just one,
Second toe
and then
drag right
another
here.
one, and a wide open net by Taylor Hall. He's not going to miss that. Even if he was in Buffalo, I don't think he's missing that. But I feel like David Krejci's having a pretty underrated season. 8 goals, 26 assists, 34 points at the age of 35. I think that's pretty good numbers, for, a guy like David Krejci. I think Taylor Hall really helped him. He probably elevated his game, just a little bit, nothing too crazy. But, yeah, I mean, I really like Krejci, what he's doing this year, especially with, Bruins adding Taylor Hall and, them just on the same line together. They've just been really, really, really good.
I also think Hall and Krejci have developed some serious chemistry. I mean, you can tell on that pass there by David Krejci that him and Hall are definitely enjoying playing on the same line, and it's showing, in my opinion. This is could this be one of the new dynamic duos, if you will, in the NHL? I mean, I know that Krejci's up there in age, like you just mentioned, and I know that Hall is technically there right now just as a playoff rental. But I mean, I don't know. Could you see this as maybe being a quote unquote dynamic duo for the Bruins?
I think if Taylor Hall does sign in Boston, I think we would have to see next year if it would happen or not. It's definitely a possibility. I'm not counting it out. But I mean, yeah, they've been really, really well together. I've really liked them, playing on a line together. I've watched a couple of games and, just the chemistry they have, as you mentioned before, just clicking like instantly as soon as Taylor Hall came to Boston.
Definitely something worth watching, that's for sure. We're going to move on here really quickly. And we mentioned before, two teams in the East Division actually managed to clinch a playoff spot last night. And those two teams are the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals. And Andrew, this was a good game against two East Division powerhouses. It's rare that you see, obviously, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't say it's rare, but it's pretty common that you see one team able to clinch a playoff spot in a certain night from one certain game. And both of these teams actually managed to clinch a spot in the playoffs despite what happened in this game. I think part of it actually had to do with the result of the Ranger Islander game, but I mean, these two teams have been at the top of the East Division for a long, long time, and now it's finally paying off in the fact that they both just clinched playoff spots.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we mentioned before, both of these teams have done very, very well this year. Penguins, I feel like a little bit under the radar, kind of just hopping in, to that second spot in the East Division with 69 points. Yeah, but again, these are two powerhouse teams that personally I would not want to play in the playoffs if I were any team. If I was the Islanders, Bruins, Rangers, they're going to have to play one of those teams, but personally, I would not like to play, against one of them. But this game was pretty much back and forth. Capitals scored first. Penguins got two more. Capitals got two more. Penguins got two more. Tom Wilson scored with about 15 seconds left in the period. Then Jake Gensel finally ending in overtime. It was a pretty good back and forth game, but obviously Penguins coming out on top.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this was a game that a lot of people, I'm sure, had circled on their calendars. And I mean, in the losing effort, Nicholas Backstrom had 3 assists in this one. I know this is kind of a general statement about a guy like Nicholas Backstrom, but I want to hear your thoughts on this too. I think he's been one of the most underrated players in this entire generation, at least in the time that I've been watching hockey anyway. I know that a lot of people are kind of, iffy about him considering he passes all the time to Alex Ovechkin, who's one of the greatest goal scorers the league has ever seen. But Nicholas Backstrom, in my opinion, is one of the best passers of this generation. I think he's really, really good at just threading that needle and just finding his teammates in some tight situations sometimes.
Yeah, you mentioned him passing to Ovi all the time. Ovi wouldn't have all of these goals if it wasn't for Nicholas Backstrom. Backstrom this year, again, having an underrated season, in my opinion. 14 goals, 37 assists, 51 points in 50 games. He's averaging over a point per game this season. And he's 33 years old, so he's getting up there in age, but he's still producing. And, mentioned in his career, pretty much underrated in 1,006 games, 257 goals, 721 assists for 978 points. Those 721 assists, those are very, very impressive numbers that, you don't see every day with an average NHL player. He's just been very, very well for the Capitals. Him and Ovi, they have a chemistry, obviously, them always passing to each other on the power play, and, Backstrom always just somehow finding Ovechkin backdoor for a one-timer. It's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. I agree. And I feel like this entire time, I feel like everybody's just been kind of shining the spotlight on Ovi with, how many goals that he's scored and just how he's such an amazing goal scorer. And I agree with that. I'm not taking anything away from Alex Ovechkin, but You know, I personally think Nicholas Backstrom should be getting a little more spotlight than he's been getting. I think that again, I mean, he's such an impressive passer, and you know, he really helps thread the needle to get these pucks to Obi and to his other teammates. I don't know. I mean, I really like Nicholas Backstrom's game in general. I know when I play hockey anyway. I mean, you know that I have a shoot first mentality, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like I would work well with a guy like Nicholas Backstrom, but I don't know. We're gonna move on here. We have some news about the newest team in the NHL who uh actually just finished up their league payments today. Enter the NHL, Seattle Kraken. Welcome to the league. You're the 32nd franchise in hockey now. Um, Andrew, I mean this Seattle Kraken team. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what they do in this summer's expansion draft, and I think if the schedule stays on, you know, on point, I should say. Um, I actually want to double check the schedule here, but I believe we're set to go live for the expansion draft, so that should be a fun episode for sure.
Yeah, that would definitely be interesting. I actually didn't know that. But yeah, again, Seattle Kraken, officially the 32nd team in the NHL. Obviously, they don't have players or right now or anything, but they can still sign or trade for players. Obviously they're not gonna, probably trade as much as they would signing people. I remember when Vegas was officially a team, the first signing was Reed Duke. So, it'd kind of be interesting to see, who their first signing is to the NHL. But I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a little weird. Everyone, for Vegas had low expectations for their team. Everyone thought they were going to be contending for the first overall pick. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're in the Stanley Cup. Now I feel like Seattle's going to have all of that pressure, be like, oh, hey, the last expansion team did it. Why can't you do it? So, but I mean, I really don't know. I don't have that much expectations for this team, but I mean, they could exceed them.
I actually want to build off something that you just mentioned, and I actually like the fact that you mentioned the expectations that are given to Seattle, kind of just based on what Vegas did. Do you think that Seattle is necessarily going to be working with as good of a roster as Vegas had at first? Because this is just my opinion. I think GMs saw what happened in the Vegas expansion draft. I think that in particular, obviously with the Florida Panthers giving up Jonathan Marchessault, with the Columbus Blue Jackets giving up William Karlsson, I think teams are going to be a lot more careful with their assets in terms of what they do and what they don't give up to an expansion team that is definitely going to utilize these pieces more than established NHL clubs will.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I feel like, you mentioned GMs, we're kind of in shock, just to see how well they were doing. So, I feel like they got to do their scouting maybe a little bit more, on their own players, which kind of sounds crazy, but, knowing that you're going to have to get rid of, one of your players, to Seattle, you're going to be keeping, an eye on a couple players, oh, how's this guy going to do? Could this guy, fit well, with the team? But that sucks too. You don't know what the team's going to be like. You don't know what their play style is just yet. So it'll definitely be, weird to see, or just interesting to see, how either well or, how bad Seattle would be doing in the expansion draft.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know how high my expectations are for Seattle going into next season, but I don't know. I think we've both made some good points here in terms of their roster, and I don't necessarily know what the plan is for Ron Francis with how he's going to handle the expansion draft, I should say. I know that when Vegas was getting certain players last year, they actually made some deals with certain teams to kind of acquire pieces in kind of like as a bargain, if you will, to get draft picks back. I think some of the most the best examples out there are the trades that involved Riley Smith coming over from the Florida Panthers and then Shea Theodore coming over from the Anaheim Ducks. So I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting to see what Ron Francis can do. And I mean, if you had to guess as of right now, who do you see going from the Rangers?
From the Rangers, it's going to be really tough just because, a lot of their players, are protected. just because they have such a young team. You have guys like Capo Caco, Filipino, Lafreniere, Adam Fox, Ryan Lindgren, Igor Shesterkin. All those players, they don't even have to protect. They are already protected, just because of, how young they are. And, this is really only their second or third season in the NHL. But I mean, if I was to choose one, I would probably say either a guy like Colin Blackwell, Brett Howden, Julian Gauthier, one of those players. What do you think about for the Islanders? Who do you think Seattle would, possibly take?
I don't know. I mean, that's a bit of a tough question because obviously the the Islanders aren't in the same position that the Rangers are in. You mentioned before that the Rangers are such a young team with a lot of people that are going to be uh that a lot of people are going to be protected instantly just given on, just based on their age. Um I don't know. I mean, the Islanders also have some work to do in free agency, right? I would think that um I don't know. I mean, maybe we could see a guy like Michael Dal Cole being left unprotected. I'm not a big fan of Dal Cole anyway, so I wouldn't necessarily mind having him go to Seattle. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm like leaving people out off the top of my head, but um, I mean, maybe Seattle picks up one of the defensemen. I know that Scott Mayfield has definitely established himself a little bit as a decent defensive defenseman, so maybe Seattle could see him and maybe um, you know, be interested in his services and decide to take him. But I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting to see what the Islanders do. And I mean, for those of you out there listening, if you guys want to hear us kind of break down not just our teams, but pretty much any team who who we think is going to go in the expansion draft. Granted, we have to wait until the expansion draft lists come out, the protected lists come out. But I mean, Andrew, I think that would be cool to kind of just go over each team and kind of build our own Seattle Kraken roster as the expansion draft gets closer.
Yeah, I would definitely be excited for that. Making our own expansion, draft. I believe, we didn't do 100%, with the Vegas. Obviously we didn't have, a show back then, but we kind of, nitpicked, and who we thought was gonna go where, and obviously most of them we did not get correctly, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see. One team who I am very, gonna, I'm just gonna see, who they want to take is Vegas with their goaltending situation. Do they protect Leonard or do they protect Marc-Andre Fleury?
See, it's funny you mentioned that. I think Vegas is actually the only team that's exempt from this whole thing. I don't think
Oh,
Vegas has to give anybody up.
well, then that's great for them. I actually did not know that.
I believe that's the case anyway. I mean, I could be wrong in that, but I think that's dumb in my opinion anyway. Like, why does Vegas not have to give anything up? I don't I don't know.
Yeah, no,
But
I mean, yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah, Vegas is completely exempt from the expansion draft. So, I mean, personally, I don't like that. Not even the fact that they're a new team, but they've been winning recently. So, I mean, I think you should take one player away at least. But I mean, I'm not an NHL someone who works for them, so I really can't say much.
do you think the mindset would change maybe in the expansion draft if Vegas came out of the gate and they were losing if they weren't as good? Or do you think this is all just because they're a Stanley Cup contender?
No, I mean, I do think it is just because they are the newest team. I believe they started the league 2017-18 season, so that was about 3 years ago. So I mean, I think that's probably the reason why they're exempt from the draft. I'd say if it was maybe 5 years plus they've been in the NHL, I think they would probably be I think Seattle would be able to pick from them.
I would agree. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that Seattle can't pick anybody from Vegas because I think that Vegas has so many forward options now that have established themselves as good players that it would be difficult for Vegas to decide who they can and can't protect. I mean, you would be getting a good player from Vegas, uh, regardless of who you would protect. I mean, their top six is one of the best in the NHL, and then their depth even spills over to their third and fourth line. And I mean, even on defense, they're one of the deepest teams in the league. And you mentioned in the crease as well, they have Robin Leonard, they have Marc-Andre Fleury. So I don't know. I mean, it would definitely be cool to see you know, who they would take from Vegas. I feel like the best option for them would be to probably take a goalie, considering you can only protect one. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned their top six. Their top six right now consist of Max Pacioretty, Chandler Stevenson, Mark Stone, Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, and Riley Smith. Those are pretty good lines. According to Daily Faceoff, their first line of Pacioretty, Stevenson, Stone is ranked 7th in the league. Marchessault, Karlsson, Smith is ranked 3rd in the league for second line forwards. So, and again, I mentioned their goalies before, with Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury, who have been outstanding this season. Personally, I think I would have taken a goalie if Vegas was available to, take players from, but can't do much about it.
Yeah, it is what it is, and I'm not too sure why that's the rule in the first place. But again, we're not league executives, so we're not gonna get into that very much. What we are going to get into though is a bit of an injury update. And Andrew, do you have anything to update us on any injuries happening with the New York Rangers?
Yeah, so for the New York Rangers, Chris Kreider was sidelined yesterday. It was a lower body injury. And then Ryan Lindgren was sidelined with an upper body injury. He's day-to-day. And then Brett Howden broke his foot last night, I believe, in the game. So he's out for the season, regardless if they do make the playoffs or they don't make the playoffs. But, yeah, I mean, Kreider hasn't been the greatest player this season. He had a very, very good first half. The second half of the year, it kind of just went down, downfall. Maybe this was due to an injury, that he was just fighting out of. And then maybe there was just a point where he was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I have to sit out. Who knows? Ryan Lindgren, this is, fairly new. I haven't really seen much, or I haven't heard anything, of him possibly being injured. But he's been one of our top defensemen this year. Obviously, Adam Fox is the top defenseman for the Rangers, but he's been pretty much right there with him. Lindgren has been a very good, pair, with Fox. He doesn't get that many points, but, he's been a big, physical, solid body for them. And then Jacob Trouba is still hurt. I think he's day-to-day right now. He had an upper body injury. He actually got hurt on April 20th. So he's probably shut down for the season. It wouldn't surprise me if the Rangers, get mathematically eliminated. I think personally, I would just say sit all of those players who are out. Just have them sit down. Have them relax for the rest of the year. There's no point of them, coming back and possibly, getting a worse injury.
I'd agree with that. And with Lindgren, I don't know if they have the clip here on the highlight film, but he actually took a hit from Cal Clutterbuck in the game yesterday, and just kind of like the momentum that Lindgren had after the hit, it like threw him into the boards, and I think he hit his shoulder. So I was trying to pull up a clip before, but I don't know if at least Sportsnet doesn't have it anyway. I don't know if there's another clip that that would show it better. But yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's what he's dealing with. So yeah, I mean he's been solid for the Rangers this year. So definitely hoping for the best with him, and hoping for the best with everybody who's out. You never want to see anybody go down with an injury. But let's see what else we got here. We got the we do have some playoff updates to get to here, and as we mentioned before, Washington Capitals have clinched a playoff spot. Pittsburgh Penguins clinched a playoff spot. Philadelphia Flyers, the only thing that they've clinched is the end of their season. They've been eliminated from playoff contention, and I mean this has overall just been a very, very disappointing season from a Flyers team that was expected to go very, very far.
Yeah, we talked about it before, with them basically going on and off ever since 2012, making the playoffs. And I actually remember a quote that Vigneault said before the season. He said, playoffs are basically a must. There's really no excuse. And obviously, not making the playoffs. But it's going to be weird to see what they do with Vigneault, honestly. Do they keep him? Do they not keep him? I think if I were Philadelphia, I would probably keep him 1 or 2 more years. I'd say if it's bounce back years again, playoffs next year and then no playoffs the other year, I think I would probably just get rid of him. But yeah, again, Philly's just been a really, really bad team this year.
I would agree. And I don't know. I mean, I was expecting Philly to go fairly far. I actually put out like a Twitter prediction for fun, just kind of listing like the teams that I thought would make it to the Final Four, and foolishly enough, I had Philadelphia making mine. So,
I think a lot of people did because personally I did too. I thought last year they were going to be going to the Cup final. I thought they were really good last year. I liked the way that they played, and I was hoping for better stuff for Philly. I hate to say it as a Ranger fan, but I mean, just watching the way they were playing last year, especially in the bubble, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. And as an Islander fan, it was a lot of fun to see see the Flyers. Well, first of all, see them lose. But I don't know. I mean, they were a tough out in the playoffs, man. I mean, I say this all the time. I mean, I think that series could have been a sweep for the Islanders if the Islanders just played better in overtime. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Flyers are a good team for a reason. I mean, regardless of whether you get it done in regulation, you get it done in overtime. Winning the playoffs is a win. So, you kind of just got to take those games in stride and just take whatever you can get. But before we go here, we actually have a few highlight clips that I want to show personally from Thursday night. And don't worry, Andrew, before you get scared, none of them are from the Islander Ranger game. Well, at least some of them aren't anyway. This is actually a goal from Blake Coleman, who got a penalty shot. He was awarded a penalty shot anyway, and there you see the trip. And we're going to fast forward a little bit here just to fast forward to the goal. So here it is. It was actually marked down as a shorthanded goal. First career penalty shot for Blake Coleman, as you can see on the screen right here. And he's going to get the whistle. Comes in, and he winds up going high glove. Right there. It's a nice shot by a pretty underrated player, in my opinion, in Blake Coleman.
Yeah, no, I really liked him when he was a New Jersey Devil. But yeah, getting traded, to the Devils to the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously, it's a big step. Him finally getting a ring last year. 49 games played, 12 goals, 15 assists, 27 points. That's pretty decent. I don't know what line he plays on. I would assume he plays on the third line. So for a third line player, that's not bad at all, stats wise. And yeah, he's having a pretty underrated season.
I would say so. Now we're going to go ahead and move on here. And as we all know, Austin Matthews has been one of, if not the best goal scorer in the NHL this year. And this was a bullet of a one-timer that he scored last night. It was a 2-on-1. And once you see Matthews and Marner coming down at a 2-on-1, it's kind of impossible to stop. You're kind of just hoping you get a save at that point. So I apologize for how blurry that is, by the way. I didn't think it would be that blurry at first, but we'll try and rewind it here and see if it gets any better. But yeah, I mean, this is just a nice play by Matthews and Marner. Crap, it did it again.
Yeah, I mean, they've been one of the best, 1-2 combos in the NHL this year. Matthews, just has a fantastic shot, and Marner just having fantastic vision, fantastic hands. They play really, really well together. I'm sure once Marner heard, that they were going to draft Matthews first overall back in 2016, I'm sure, he got goosebumps and stuff, thinking about, what they're going to be doing in the league for the next, possibly 15 years. So they're definitely one of the best deadly combos.
Do you think Matthews wins the Rocket Richard Trophy this year as the best goal scorer in the league?
If not, if he does not, I will buy an Adam Pelech jersey and wear it for the rest of my life.
The nice thing is I have that on record, so if this does happen, now I have proof.
But, actually, let me just see who. No, I'm kidding.
Well, while you pull that up, we have one more highlight highlight clip that I want to get to. This was a pretty nice goal by Jacob Vrana, who a lot of people see as a trade deadline steal for the Detroit Red Wings. I definitely see that in them, but hopefully this doesn't go blurry on me again. Pretty nice play there by Vrana. Just weave in and out of some Carolina players and just go top shelf.
Yeah, he's been very, very, very well for the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, we mentioned, when we first heard the news, I believe you said that, Detroit stole this. And, I think Vrana just wasn't really getting a whole lot of, ice time, with the Washington Capitals. I know the Capitals were the management was a little, upset with Vrana and, his playing style. But I mean, for he's playing for a team that, doesn't really, they're not going to be doing much, I'd say in the next, 2 or 3 years. So, I mean, he could show his true potential.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I'm a big fan of Vrana as a player too, and I'm excited to see him finally, not to make this as a pun or anything, but to see him spread his wings, and just yeah, you appreciate that joke, huh?
Yeah,
No?
I think it's
Well,
time to go.
well, I think that's just that's just the cue for me to not quit my day job, just to not go into comedy. So don't worry, folks, I'm not planning to go into comedy anytime soon. Uh, but yeah, I mean, well, with that being said, I think that joke is a good way to kind of wrap up the show. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it here. So just before we go, we got a quick, pretty good series of games to get to tonight anyway. 7 p.m. we got Montreal and Winnipeg from the Bell Center in Montreal. 9 p.m. San Jose visits Colorado. 10 p.m. Vegas takes on the Arizona Coyotes in Arizona. And then at 10 p.m. the Battle of SoCal is on once again as the Kings travel to Anaheim to take on the Ducks. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much thing to say to the crowd before we get going for the weekend.
No, just, again, have a good weekend, stay safe as always, and just have a good time.
Well, you heard it from him, folks. That is going to do it for us here. For Andrew Marisi, I'm Carter Bentavenga. Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the hockey this weekend, and we will be back on Monday night.